Oh, it's not quite 7. There we go. We'll call this meeting to order.
All rise. Oh yes, this county commission meeting of Sumner County is now open pursuant to adjournment. God bless this country and this honorable commission. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherford. As we prepare for our invocation tonight, we have Pastor Todd Alexander, the senior pastor of House of Grace Assembly of God, 600 Lock 4 Road, Gallatin, Tennessee. He's been involved in ministry, full-time ministry, for over 20 years. He and his wife, Sherry, have 2 grown children. He enjoys traveling, boating, golf, and entertaining at home, serving up his famous barbecue ribs. Pastor Alexander, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that introduction. Would you join me in prayer? Father, we give you thanks. You are the giver of life, and we just pause and say thank you. Thank you for the breath that we breathe, God. Thank you, Lord, for your goodness that bestowed upon all of us that, God, we certainly do not deserve. Tonight, as we gather together in this chamber, God, we ask that wisdom and honor, that unity of mind and hearts would be present in this place, Father. God, you're the God of all of those things who give graciously. And so we ask for them tonight upon our county leaders tonight as they conduct the business, Father. We give you thanks in advance for all that you're going to do tonight. We ask in the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
You will salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's check our roll.
Roll call is now open. Each commissioner, please record your presence. Anyone not voting, wishing to vote? Anyone wishing to? We've got 22, Mr. Chairman. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan is out tonight, and Ms. Kruger is close. She's on her way in right now.
22 members
Okay.
present, Mr.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right. Let's see. Had a roll call. Your regular and consent agenda are before you. I'll wait on a motion to approve. Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, second by Commissioner DeWitt. All in favor say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mansfield.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move item 2104-13 off of the consent agenda and onto the main agenda under budget.
Okay. Without objection, we will move that to budget. 2104-13. Okay. All right. I see no one else in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Your minutes are before you. Is there a motion to approve our minutes? Commissioner Tucker with the first, with the motion, Commissioner Foster with the second. Mr. Mansfield.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Pointed out a mistake in last month's minutes on the last page of our minute packet. Went back and listened to the meeting, and the meeting had adjourned at the very end. And according to, I guess, our procedures, what's done in this body and the official minutes is done during the meetings. So I guess procedurally, I think this is incorrect to have the county mayor's point of personal privilege added to the minutes as a part of the official minutes. And so I would request that that be struck from the official minute record since the meeting had officially adjourned at that point. It was not a part of the meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So, Mr. Kemp? Yep. Okay. It's an amendment. Yes, Mr. Goode.
The county mayor expected it, but he is the county mayor, and he did request to speak at the time.
Okay, hang on one second, Mr. Goode. Wait for your.
Want to speak?
Mr. Holt, do you wish to speak?
That's Mr. Good. We don't have him.
Okay, hang on, Mr. Goode. Can you hit your mic? There you go. Go ahead.
I was just making a comment that he is the elected county mayor, and he did request to speak at the time.
Yeah, my interpretation is he had requested before, and I adjourned prematurely. Mr. Holt, did you wish to speak?
And I object to that being struck from the record. That was part of the record, and that was relevant to what was going on. And I had a request to speak out for a county commissioner.
Okay.
So I respectfully ask that it not be stricken from the minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The amendment on the board is to strike the county mayor's statement at the end of the meeting. A yes vote is to strike it from the minutes. A no vote is to keep it in the minutes. Mr. Hinton.
Am I to understand that you said that you, in error, ended the meeting with an adjournment rather than going to him? Is
I
that
did.
right? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Holt had requested to speak earlier, and at the end of the meeting, I just forgot and adjourned us, and I should have let him speak. Okay, let's vote.
The amendment is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $20 votes are entered. Anyone not voting wish to vote? Anyone wish to change your vote? With 5 affirmative votes, the amendment fails to carry.
Okay. See no one else in the queue. All in favor of passing the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, for noes, I have Mr. Mansfield and Commissioner Mo Taylor. Anyone else voting no? Okay. Motion passes by a vote of 20 in favor, 2 opposed. All right, we'll have our public recognition. Does anyone else wish to sign up for public comments tonight? Nope, one more. Yep. Here, wait, hang on and hit your mic, please, Mr. Taylor. Yeah. Okay.
I apologize. I was just going to ask if it was possible for us to do the presentations prior to public comments, since we have quite a few.
Yeah, without objection, we've got 5 people slated for public comments. Without objection, we're going to go down to our recognitions. Is there any objection to doing our recognitions first? Okay. All right, Ms. Tucker, you are up first for National Therapy Animal Day.
Good evening. I am very excited to be able to recognize National Therapy Animal Day, and if I could have the Music City Pet Partners come up. We have Miss Ellie Wetzel, who is a board member, and her crew. So we got a nice array of therapy animals. We've got a cat and 3 dogs with us tonight, so I can't wait to hear from their speaker tonight about some of the wonderful things that they're doing. So our certificate of recognition is recognizing April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day. Whereas National Therapy Animal Day was created by Pet Partners, the nation's leading organization registering therapy animals of 9 different species, including dogs, cats, equines, rabbits, guinea pigs, llamas, alpacas, birds, miniature pigs, and rats, to help improve human health and well-being through the human-animal bond. And whereas therapy animals make a great difference in our lives by improving mental wellness and reduce fear, anxiety, loneliness, and isolation, they also have positive impact on our physical health by lowering perceived levels of pain, shortening recovery times, and even influencing those who are ill to have a more positive outlook about their future. And whereas Pet Partners therapy animals and their human companions visit hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospice, and interact with numerous people in Sumner County, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life, and for this reason, we owe them a debt of gratitude. Now therefore be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 19th day of April 2021 that this body does recognize April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day and honor all therapy animals and their dedicated handlers who volunteer their time and compassion and for the amazing work they do for our county. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of this body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Music City Pet Partners on behalf of all therapy animal volunteer teams. And I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Tucker, second by Commissioner Goode. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us today and for recognizing therapy animals. We're with Music City Pet Partners, which is the local affiliate for Pet Partners. And we have some of the volunteers here tonight. We have Jonathan with Gregory, and we have Beverly with Lucy, and Hattie with Piper, and I'm Ellie, and this is Winnie. We volunteer, we have teams at the Sumner County Regional Medical Center, some that do different schools for reading programs in the S'mores Reading Camp in the summer, at a variety of nursing homes and at the library. And one thing that's different about therapy animals from, say, like a service animal or emotional support animal is that therapy animals are generally personal pets that, based on their temperament and training, have been deemed safe and reliable to visit people at a variety of facilities. And we would love for anyone who has a pet that you think might be a good temperament to join us. We have handler workshops in Gallatin several times this year. And so if you know of a place that would benefit from a therapy animal visit or someone who would like to become a team, please contact us at musiccitypetpartners.org. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If I can have Commissioner Goode, Commissioner Stewart join me. I wish Mr. Sullivan was here with us tonight. And then I also have some of my Sumner Realtor partners, if y'all would like to come up as well. I have our CEO, Dave Cheney, here, and our Governmental Affairs Chair, Vicki Johnson. So I appreciate them all being here tonight as we recognize April as Fair Housing Month. Whereas each April we observe the anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, followed by Fair Housing Amendments of 1974 and 1988, a national law that prohibits discrimination in the sale, rental, financing of housing based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity, and national origin. And whereas Fair Housing Month reminds us of the principles of fair housing is not only a state and national law, but is a fundamental right for all people in the United States, and we welcome all good neighbors who support and engage respectfully with a variety of people from diverse backgrounds and respect all colors and religious traditions. And whereas Sumner Realtors supports and encourages the promotion of fair housing opportunities free from discrimination of all citizens, and is committed to ensure equal access to housing and to offer equal professional service to everyone in search for real property in the neighborhood of his or her choice. Now therefore be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 19th day of April 2021 that this body does recognize the month of April as National Fair Housing Month and commends the diligent and dedicated efforts of Sumner Realtors and all realtors nationwide who promote fair housing communities and urge all citizens to be good neighbors. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread upon the minutes of this body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Sumner Realtors, and I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Goode. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. Those of you on the commission and those in the audience may be aware that Shelley also serves as the president of the Sumner Association of Realtors this year, and thank you for bringing this before this body, and thank the commission for recognizing fair housing. You know, when the first act was passed more than 50 years ago, there were public policies in place that prevented certain segments of our society in the United States from achieving the dream of home ownership. And we've come a long way since then, but we also recognize we still have a long way to go, and it takes good public policy at the city and county level in every community, and especially in our beloved community in Sumner County here. So we vow to work with this body and our cities to make that dream a reality for everybody in our community, because we know it takes good public policy and it takes work by these real estate professionals that we represent. So thank you again.
Thank you. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
If I could, have Miss Sonia Trout come on up. Keith, if you'd like to join her, you're welcome as well. I've known this lady about as long as I've known anybody.
Yes, sir.
So,
But I'm not that old.
no ma'am, no ma'am. Tonight we have a recognition honoring, a resolution honoring Miss Sonia Trout. Whereas the Sumner County Jail Administrator, Ms. Sonia Trout, retired on February 26, 2021, drawing a close to an exemplary career of 26 years with the Sheriff's Office and more than 30 years with Sumner County. And whereas a Westmoreland High School graduate and a lifelong resident of Westmoreland, Ms. Sonia Trout started to work as a General Sessions Court Clerk in 1991. Then joined the Sheriff's Office as the Assistant Jail Administrator in 1995, and her outstanding performance in that capacity led to her promotion to the Jail Administrator position in September 1997. And whereas over the span of her long and remarkable career, Ms. Sonia Trout strived to be the very best to help our jail to effectively adapt to the challenges presented by a growing county and increasing inmate population, and has been the recipient of dozens of letters and honors, including a recognition as the State of Tennessee's Jail Administrator of the Year Award. Whereas a Sunday school teacher, mother, grandmother, didn't say it here, but an awesome singer as well if you like gospel music, Ms. Sonia Trout has been a leader, motivator, inspiration, and a mentor to hundreds of current and former jail employees and to the countless lives she has touched. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 19th day of April, 2021, that this body hereby wishes Ms. Sonia Trout the best in her retirement and extends its appreciation for a job well done with dedication, professionalism, and hard work. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of this body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Ms. Sonia Trout, and I so move.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Mo Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Wright. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
You're welcome to say what you will.
I just want to say just a few words. I am honored and humbled. I count it a privilege to have been able to serve alongside the great men and women of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. I couldn't ask for better people, and we are blessed in this county, this man here being at the top of my list. And thank you all. I hope I have done at least some little something to better the Sheriff's Office and the citizens of Sumner County. And again, it's been my honor.
Thank you, Ms. Trout. Thank you, Ms. Trout. We appreciate your years of service and all you've done for the county. Thank y'all. All right, Commissioner DeWitt. Okay. All right, you go ahead and read it. Yeah.
All right. Are Joseph and Joshua here or out in the hallway? I don't see them. We're going to go ahead and read this resolution in their absence. They are actually competing. I knew they were competing earlier this evening, and you'll hear about them here just in a second while they're competing. So let's go ahead. Whereas Joseph and Joshua Rodriguez have earned the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout, the highest award attainable in scouting. Whereas as scouts since 2009, I'm going to get rid of this. As scouts since 2009, twin brothers Joshua and Joseph Rodriguez have participated in countless community service projects, including making face shields and donating them to Sumner County's Health Department early in 2020. Whereas Joshua Rodriguez has served as senior patrol leader and Joseph as assistant patrol leader, and whereas for their Eagle Scout projects in coordination with Merrill Hyde Magnet School, Joseph built 2 outdoor libraries where fellow students are encouraged to get a book and have a book to share, and Joshua improved the girls' locker room by building storage cubicles, cleaning and painting. And whereas these outstanding young men serve additional leadership roles as seniors at Merrill Hyde Magnet School, co-presidents of Government Club, and pillar captains for Student Council, and whereas the Rodriguez brothers are remarkable athletes, this is what I was mentioning earlier, as members of the back-to-back regional and district champion MHMS tennis team, with their doubles team advancing to the semifinals in 2019, at quarterfinals in 2018 at the TSSAA state tournament, and have also earned national dance titles for their hip-hop and contemporary performances with Hendersonville's The Workplace. And whereas Joshua and Joseph Rodriguez are all-around exceptional citizens of Sumner County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we want to recognize them. They are all-around outstanding young men. They are servants. They're great academic students. They have amazing talents and leadership, and they're going to go far. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to recognize them.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner DeWitt. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Really impressive young men, and we'll pass on to them our accolades. All right, excuse me, Commissioner Ring.
Commissioner Foster, if you want to join me. Every year, Sumner County Schools honors teachers, principal, and lead educators, and we'd like to honor them tonight. If any of them are here, please come on up. Any of them are here? Okay. We'll do principal first. Jessica Adams?
She's not here.
Not here, okay. And we can applaud all these afterwards, so I'll make a motion for all of these at the end of each of them. Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting regular session on this 19th day of April 2021 does hereby honor and commend Ms. Jessica Adams as the 2021 Sumner County Principal of the Year. We'll do lead teacher, and then I'll make the motion. Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session this 19th day of April 2021 does hereby honor and commend Ms. Kimberly High as Sumner County Local Educator, Lead Educator of the Year. And I so move for both of those.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Ring, second by Commissioner Foster. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And we will now do
Commissioner Ring, before you go down, let me just say, while we have Ms. High up here, you know, a lot of people don't know what a lead educator is. A lead educator is an instructional coach, which means that she works in a building with all the teachers in that building. And really what she's able to do with her teachers is amazing. And she's a strong leader for the future of Sumner County, because it's not just in her building. You know, it pains me to say that someone from Portland is so talented and so good. But she really is exemplary. And, you know, what's been amazing is a lot of the things that she's done over the last 2 years have not just benefited her school, although they've benefited her school tremendously. Portland has really strong instructional leaders from top to bottom. But what she's done has benefited the whole county in ways that will continue to benefit our kids for the next 20 or 30 years. So, Kimberly, it's an honor to honor you, and on behalf of the commission, thank you for all that you do.
All right, we also have Teacher of the Year from high school, middle school, and elementary school. And we'll let Mr. Foster begin with high school, and then I'll continue with the other two. And again, we'll group and approve them when we're finished with three of them.
Okay, we're here tonight to honor Ms. Tasha Froelich as Sumner County High School Teacher of the Year. Ms. Froelich was also selected as Beach High School Teacher of the Year by her peers. Ms. Froelich has served as department chair, teacher, leader, as well as technology specialist for our school. She is an outstanding educator and works to improve instruction across the board by serving on personal learning committees and giving freely of her time to assist teachers in implementation of quality instructional practices. She was instrumental, quote, irreplaceable, in BHS's shift to online learning and implementing Google Classroom across the board this year in our school. I don't think there's not a person in this room doesn't understand what kind of pressure that the school has been under for at least a year and a half, and Ms. Froelich has certainly made our jobs a lot easier. I didn't use Google Classroom much, and I wanted to present this personally to Ms. Froelich because I've got personal information about her. She has helped me. She is a Ferrari. She's a level 1, 2 Google educator. When I started out with Google Classroom, it's sort of like the Flintstone mobile. I'm probably at the level of a Honda minivan now, but this lady knows so much stuff. She has worked countless hours to bring our school in this county forward with Google Classroom. She set up meetings before school, after school. She came to my room during my planning period, answered my silly questions over email, has made herself available nights and weekends to every teacher that needed help, and believe me, a bunch of teachers needed help. So I want to thank her personally and publicly and let her know what a great assistance she has been to me in trying to get up and running for Google Classroom. A certificate of recognition, the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 19th day of April 2021 does hereby honor and commend Mrs. Tasha Froelich as the 2021 Sumner County High School Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. For those of you who are not in education, you probably don't realize that this has been probably the most difficult year in education for most teachers. For some of them, it's maybe more difficult than their first year teaching, which is not always a great year for teachers. So another thing is Teachers of the Year start out as Teachers of the Year at their school, and they have to do a lot of paperwork to go on to try to be the county and then later state Teachers of the Year. So they should all be commended for the work that they've done. Our middle school Teacher of the Year, Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this, the 19th day of April 2021, do hereby honor and commend Ms. Terry Callister as a 2021 Sumner County Middle School Teacher of the Year. And our elementary Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meets in regular session on this, the 19th day of April 2021, does hereby honor and commend Ms. Kara Wilhite as a 2020-2021 Sumner County Elementary School Teacher of the Year. And I move that all three of these be commended as Teacher of the Year.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Ring, seconded by Commissioner Foster. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And I'll just say for all three, it's a joy to watch them teach, and not just that they're masters of their subjects, but the love and compassion they have for their students and all that they do for their kids is just exemplary. So on behalf of the County Commission, thank you for all that you do every day on behalf of our kids. All right, let's jump back up to recognition of the public. Each speaker will have 5 minutes. We ask that you honor the rules of decorum of the chamber, which is to not single out a citizen of Sumner County, an elected official, or say anything disparaging about the institutions of Sumner County in your 5-minute comments. We also ask that you direct your comments to the chair, and you will have 5 minutes. When you start speaking, Mr. Kemp, there will be a timer on the TV that you'll be facing, the screen that you'll be facing, and you'll be able to watch your time count down. All right, Mr. Robert Brown, 587 Forest Retreat Road. Mr. Brown, you'll have 5 minutes.
Okay. During this present period, where socialists, big techs, universities, socialist state media, cultural communism, also known as cancel culture and politically correct, and corporations are trying to limit our freedom of speech, we as constitutional Americans refuse to be silenced, muzzled, or limited in our speech. The debate of free ideas and rhetoric has been the cornerstone of our country. And now our local government is trying to limit that with our commissioners. What matters also is that you have limited the citizens of this county to address grievances by limiting their time to speak. The U.S. Constitution guarantees this right, but the Tennessee Constitution goes much further, guaranteeing the right to examine all government and judicial records. Free and open debate needs to be our hallmark so that everyone who lives in the county and wants to address the issues be heard, and that includes the representatives who speak for their constituency. The U.S. Supreme Court has issued rulings declaring that the rights to petition and assemble are synonymous with the right to free speech. The court has collectively called this right the freedom of expression. Presently, freedom of speech has been thrust to the forefront, and it has been met with hypocrisy as the aforementioned institutions seek to limit speech that they don't like, such as conservative speech and ideas. Freedom of speech, while important, should not undervalue the rights to assemble and petition, which we're doing tonight. They're just as important, and all three are bedrock of our Constitution and nation. The right to petition the government for redress of grievances is the oldest in our legal heritage, dating back to the 800 years to the Magna Carta, and receiving explicit protection in the English Bill of Rights of 1689, long before the American Revolution. Ironically, the modern Supreme Court has all but read the vulnerable right to petition out of the Bill of Rights, effectively holding that it has been rendered obsolete by an expanding free speech clause. As with assembly, however, the right to petition is not simply an afterthought of the free speech clause. The right to petition plays an important role in American history. The Declaration of Independence justifies the American Revolution by noting that King George III had repeatedly ignored petitions for redress of the colonists' grievances. Legislatures in the Revolutionary period and long into the 19th century deemed themselves duty-bound to consider and respond to petitions, which could be filed not only by eligible voters, but also by women, slaves, and aliens. John Quincy Adams, after being defeated for a second term as president, was elected to the House of Representatives, where he provoked a near riot in the House of Representatives, where he was presenting petitions from slaves seeking their freedom. The House leadership responded by imposing a gag rule, limiting petitions, which was repudiated as unconstitutional by the House in 1844. Gentlemen and ladies, that is what you've done to the people of this county and are trying to do tonight to our commissioners, trying to impose an unconstitutional gag order. We're not communist China, the Soviet Union, Venezuela, or Cuba. Stop trying to impose the precepts and doctrines of Biden's failed, illegitimate, and corrupt administration upon the free people of Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Pascal Jovance, I'd ask everybody to keep your applause down. Mr. Jovance, I've got 1335 Long Hollow Pike. And you will have 5 minutes when you begin speaking.
Good evening, all. That's tough to follow. I'm more simple than him. Try to order Pizza Hut in 5 minutes. On the phone, you can't. So there's only few options. Limited your speech to 5 minutes or less mean that you already talk about everything together before was not right, or you're not going to do your job was not right. So I don't know who got this idea, but again, that's limiting free speech. And as a citizen, I expect my commissioner to be able to talk more than 5 minutes to bring my concern. So hopefully you turn that down and don't lock yourself on these kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jovance. Michelle Jovance, again at 1335 Long Hollow Pike, Gallatin, Tennessee. Mr. Jovance, you'll have 5 minutes when you begin speaking. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I want to just say that I'm really happy to be an American, and I feel really blessed and lucky that I live in America, and that we have the kind of government that we have where we have representatives that represent us. You represent us citizens. I'm speaking right now about item number 1 that's on your agenda, specifically about limiting the amount of time that you all are going to be allowing yourselves to speak on an item. We're limited already as citizens. We're limited to 5 minutes to speak to you. So why would you want to limit yourselves to speak for only 5 minutes at a time on an issue? I think it's a bad idea. I don't like it. You make important decisions. You vote on how our money is spent. Our money, my tax money. You decide on how that money's spent. I was trying to figure out why in the world would that be something that was on the agenda to try to change the rules to limit how much time you are allowed to speak on an item at a time. It didn't make sense. You only meet once a month, and you discuss and you deliberate on important items, sometimes controversial items, and that's usually when it takes the most time. The meetings go a long time when it's a controversial thing like deciding on a tax rate, deciding that you're going to vote to take more money from hardworking taxpayers. Things like that take a lot of time to discuss, and the meetings go really long. That's a big deal. I don't like the idea of you limiting yourselves and putting a time limit on something important and controversial. I expect that people who represent me to do a good job and to take the time to talk about it. The only thing I could figure out would be you want to limit, or whoever's idea it was wanted to limit the time that the meetings run. I don't know why else. I think that's a really bad reason. I think it's un-American to do that. And I guess that's basically it. Like, I want you all to do a really good job for us, for the citizens. And I want you to be able to discuss things and not put that limit on yourselves. I think it's a really bad idea. I don't like it, and I hope you vote no. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Devance. Joanna Daniels, 152 North Shadow Haven Way. Ms. Daniels, you'll have 5 minutes when you get started.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me, and I moved here from California, and well, I should say I fled here from California, and there are a bunch of us coming here, I think, if you guys know, and we're coming here because of, well, we want to maintain our constitutional rights. and our freedoms. And one of the things that I'm finding here, I moved here 2.5 years ago, and I'm just getting a little concerned that I may have fled to the wrong place. And now here's the thing is that I think that everything can be, improved. I believe that, we can all work together. And my thing is that 5 minutes, that's not a long time to really have a discussion. I believe that having 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, you only really scratch the surface of something, right? You're only just starting to get into it in 5 minutes. And as the amazing woman before me said, we're already limited. We depend on you guys to represent us and to speak on our behalfs, right? Because we only have 5 minutes. And we expect you guys to really get into it and into what really matters. And make sure I'm not going over time, because I can talk for a long time. So my whole thing is that you guys are commissioners right now. I don't know what's going to happen in 2022, okay? And you may not be a commissioner. You may be a commissioner, but would you really want your commissioner to be limited to 5 minutes? Just think about that, and say 10 years from now, if you're not a commissioner, would you want your commissioner to be limited? Because we're dealing with some pretty critical stuff right now and a lot of changes. And I have no idea what 10 years is going to happen because nobody knew what 2020 was going to bring, right? And so we have no idea what 5 years from now is going to bring. So, we're limited as citizens to talk for 5 minutes, which, we can go into whether that's good or bad or, whatever. But we have a chance right now to not put a limit on you guys. And I just encourage you, and I guess I plead with you, to not limit yourself, because that would be sending a message to the people that you represent that you don't want to spend more than 5 minutes on an issue. Is that really something that you want to send to the people that are supporting you and asking you to represent them? I think that I'm worth more than 5 minutes, okay? My needs and asking you guys to represent me is worth more than 5 minutes. And I just ask that you really think about that. Because like you said, trying to order pizza in 5 minutes, that can be challenging. So really getting to the meat of things, 5 minutes, I think you're shortchanging yourselves. And I really think you're shortchanging the people that you represent. And I hope that you guys really take that into consideration. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Ms. Christy Allen, 104 Vineyard Court. Ms. Allen, you'll have 5 minutes when you start speaking.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm opposed to the resolution to amend the standing rules of this commission. As elected officials who represent the citizens of this county, I do not feel it is appropriate or reasonable to limit their time in all situations. While many topics can be discussed adequately in 5 minutes or less, many that are more complicated, unclear, or controversial cannot. Last June, this commission discussed and passed a new 300-page zoning resolution, which replaced a 50-year-old document. While citizens were being discouraged from meeting publicly due to COVID-19, the commissioners in this room were our only voice. 5 minutes are not adequate to properly cover a 300-page document. To citizens who were not familiar with its contents and ramifications. Elected officials have the obligation to answer the people's questions and explain what is unclear. You further have the obligation to express the concerns presented to you by the citizens to the other commissioners. And I want to pose this question, what is the spirit behind this resolution. I sincerely hope it's not to squelch opinions that are not popular. Commissioners need to be allowed to properly represent and discuss the concerns of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, let's go back to the end. We're a little bit all over the place tonight with moving up our recognitions. Announcements from the chair, Mr. Kemp.
The commission has received the following correspondence. Dear Mr. Holt and County Commission, the Sumner County Retired Teachers Association sincerely appreciates your generous donation to the Scholarship Fund in honor of Diane Lankford. She was an exceptional educator and a wonderful influence on so many students and educators. Wes and Scott are great examples of her life's work. They have been notified of your generous donation. Diane's legacy will continue through scholarships to help support future educators. Thank you for your donation. Jim and Kelly Butler, SCRTA Scholarship Chairs. And, dear Commissioners, thank you for your kind and generous gift made in the memory of my daddy, Bob May, to his church. His faith, church life were very important to Daddy, and this gift to honor his memory is very fitting. Thank you again for remembering my family at this time. Leo, or maybe our law director. Mr. Chairman, that concludes correspondence.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. And I'd like to take just a second and thank everybody for the cards and notes and calls and texts and flowers. I really appreciate it greatly. It meant a lot to me and my brother and our family. So thank y'all. I really appreciate it. All right. Mr. Ring, would you like to introduce 2104-01? You got to push the button again, Mr. Ring. It didn't catch.
Thank you. Caught me off guard. Resolution 2104-01, a resolution amending the standing rules of the body by adding the language set forth in red to Section 3 procedures. And I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Ring. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Kruger. Mr. Hyde, you're up first.
Kind of feel conspicuous. Everyone turns around to look. Mr. Chairman, I speak tonight in opposition to this, but it's a little different than most people might think. I'm coming from the perspective that I wouldn't care if it was a person who generally agrees with me or disagrees with me. I would be saying the same thing. I think we are starting down a slippery slope when we start this. I very well remember when, and let me say too, I don't feel like this is directed toward me because I rarely say anything and it's short when I do say it. But I remember in 1967 when I came to this county to start teaching, that the only way we were involved with the county commission was listening on the radio at the local school to the quarterly meeting of the court. And I think maybe that's where your grandfather and your uncle sat at that time, Scott. I'm not sure with that group, but it was 40 commissioners meeting quarterly. And if you think you get weary here, you really got weary there. It went on and on and on. And there was occasionally a Commissioner Butt who, and I'd like for you to look that up, Mr. Kemp. I never got to meet him, but they would occasionally have to call his name 4 or 5 times before he woke to cast a vote. But I would just like to say that I get really tired. You know, at 76, you wear down pretty easily. And I get weary sometimes. I've sat up here before when the meetings have gone after midnight, numerous times, especially at budget times. But I chose to do this, and I come, and I sit here during the meeting. I just rarely vote against closure, cutting off debate. I just think that everybody ought to have everything they want to say about anything, and I've voted both ways on that too. I just rarely vote to cut off debate. I just hope tonight that if nothing else, we'll just put this off and think about it more, pray about it more, and give some more consideration to it. And I guess that's about all I would have to say about this. I know now that it's not like it was when we would listen at the local school to the quarterly meeting of the county court. People are more involved with the county commission, and it's even more important because of the involvement of the citizenry to keep it as open as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Becker.
Hopefully the camera doesn't get stuck on me this month.
It's your moment again, Mr. Becker.
I know. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to, I have thought about this one, and definitely am not in favor of passing this as it's written in yellow. But as I look through the items, all the items, several items in yellow on the resolution, I think it does make sense to clean up a couple of those items. Like, the first one is to change the county executive to the county mayor. I mean, that needs to be cleaned up. What I'd like to do, and I guess also I think I am in favor of section C, number 3, the repetition of viewpoints already made should be limited. I think that's probably a fair thing. But what I would like to do is make an amendment to strike, if you're looking at the resolution, strike the yellow in section 3B, and as well as strike the yellow in section C4, I guess it is. So that's my amendment, is to strike section 3B, the yellow there, as well as 3C number 4.
Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Becker, second by Commissioner Mo Taylor. We have a line in the queue, so let me run real quickly. Does anyone in the queue? I've got Commissioner Mo Taylor, Commissioner Mansfield, Commissioner Driver, Commissioner Foster, Commissioner Shell, Commissioner Kruger, Commissioner Ring, all in the queue. Do any of you wish to speak on the amendment or on the main motion? Okay. All right. So a yes vote on Mr. Becker's amendment is to strike section 3B. The comments will be limited to 5-minute increments by any speaker so that other commissioners in the queue will be allowed to timely express their stance on the topic at hand. And then section C4, but subject to the time limitations set forth in these policies and procedures. Yes vote is to strike. A no vote is to return to the main amendment.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, sir.
The amendment is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not stuck.
Mm-hmm.
20 votes are entered. Anyone not voting wishing to vote? Anyone wishing to change your vote? With 9 affirmative votes, the amendment fails to carry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right. Mr. Becker, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
At this point, the only thing I would like to add is just a typo. I believe the word Q is spelled incorrectly in section 3B. I'm not trying to be humorous, but I believe it's Q-U-E-U-E. So
I think we can fix that. I don't know that we need a motion on that.
All right. So that's it for now. I may hop back in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Becker. All right. Commissioner Mo Taylor, you're up next.
Yes, sir.
To reiterate what some of the citizens said, and I do feel like this is highly directed towards me.
Hang on one second, Mr. Taylor. Let me make, I hate to cut you off, but I meant to say this at the start. I want to go ahead and say it now. Regardless of what we do on this rules vote tonight, I want to make this point that I heard what the county executive said last month, and I took that to heart because a lot of what happened last month, I will own full responsibility for because I should have run a tighter meeting. So what I do want to say, regardless, because it's our current rules, is all comments need to be directed to the chair. We need to stop the cross the chamber conversation among commissioners. Direct your comments to the chair so we can have a good public debate. The other thing that I would like, that I thought was really, the mayor pointed this out last week, is there was too much drawing innuendos about other people's intentions and things like that. We want to discuss the merits of issues up and down. We do not want to make things personal, okay? So I will be ruling out of order any comments about, that are personally derisive or anything like that. We want to direct comments to the chair, and then we want to have a good public order, good public debate, however long, whether it's 5 minutes at a time or whether it's 30 minutes at a time. We want to have good public debate, and I will be ruling a little bit more tightly on that. Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry that I interrupted you because that was not aimed at you, but I meant to do it, and I apologize that I just thought of it. So I apologize for interrupting you.
You just made an excellent example for me on this amendment to this rule.
Yes, sir.
The timer, when I am repeatedly on the floor of this commission, have the cue to speak, and I'm interrupted. Does my timer stop and start back? When you're taking away from my time from being interrupted?
Hang on, I'm trying to get an answer for you, Mr. Taylor.
By Robert's rules, if it's your time and you ask a question, it uses your time to have the question answered.
Okay, so if we're answering your question, then it uses your time.
Okay.
That's under Robert's rules.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we can amend that as our own rules.
Sure.
So I look at this seat, and the people put me here, just like they said. We're not, some of us aren't on committees. That's not by our vote or by our choice. We request committees, we don't get selected to them. So we got one chance a month to come down here in the people's house to discuss the people's business in the chairs the people put us in. One time a month. So to debate issues, to be limited, basically it's like the guy said earlier, we're living in a cancel culture. Shut up, sit down, I don't want to hear what you have to say if I don't agree with you. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'll suspend the rules to let citizens continue to speak on relative issues. I've done it before and I'll do it again. And the debate and drawing in and following the subject matter, these subject matters of a lot of this stuff is broad ranging and has massive effects that this didn't limit to some little legal word that you put down on a piece of paper in a resolution. I mean, it draws in all kinds of things, which is all kinds of discussion, all kinds of questions, all kinds of debate. Having an open and transparent government starts nowhere in this amendment. Nowhere. Nowhere. And do a little simple math. We got 24 commissioners sitting here. 5 minutes apiece times 24, that's 2 hours. That's if everybody spoke for 5 minutes. I understand some people go over time. I understand some people don't want to say anything. I understand some people may not want to hear what others have to say. But let me tell you what happens is when you get put out, not being able to speak, there's one way to stop somebody from being able to speak, procedurally, and that's to call for the question. So if you don't want your chance to be able to speak, talk to your friends sitting here and tell them to stop calling for the question. Because I'm not accusing anybody. When it's factually happened, it's happened. You can go back and watch the videos. When an item is discussed and debated here, you watch these microphones light up. When somebody's in the queue, they're green. Well, when somebody that hadn't spoke, you keep up with, or the clerk keeps up with, if they hadn't had a chance to speak yet. So somebody wanting to debate back, they don't get to go in front of the person that hadn't had a chance to speak yet. But the person calling for the question and whoever seconds the question ends that debate if it gets 16 votes. So you're already limiting people's option to speak here. That rule already exists, and it's been utilized almost every month for the last year. I would venture to guess multiple times in a lot of meetings. The call for the question ends debate. If it gets 16 votes, you cannot talk on it. It's got to go to a direct vote. So we already have the rule. This is just to shut up and sit down certain people. And it's just not right. I mean, I have people call me from all over this county, not just my district. I mean, I got a call today on the way down here, coming to this meeting about the freaking emission testing. Excuse me, didn't mean to say that way, but the emission testing. I mean, people won't debate. You don't have to agree with the debate. I sat here for years and listened to people I didn't really care to listen to, but I listened. And if you notice how I vote, I don't typically ever vote for the call for the question. It's a rare occasion that I will vote on the call for question, because that's telling somebody to shut up and sit down not in a polite, procedurally correct way. So, and I want to say this, and I'm entitled because I earned my right to be here more than one time. If you ain't got time to be here and you ain't got time to sit and listen to the debate, resign. I mean, it's that simple. And I'm not being mean by saying that, but if you can't put the commitment to be here on time, be here during the meetings, and listen to the debate, you don't need to be here. You're not serving the citizens. This is supposed to be a seat for the citizens, by the citizens, and about the citizens. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more of something for us to think about. I would challenge anybody to name a single time in history when those who fight to censor speech were ever the good guys. So suppose you want to limit and censor a commissioner's ability to speak on behalf of the people they represent with a redress of grievances, which they're not able to do, share opinions, which they're not able to share, ask questions, which they're not able to ask, and you're wanting to censor not commissioners, you're censoring the people by not allowing proper debate in this chamber. And that's just wrong. I've heard citizens here tonight, I've heard them express it to me in public, that when a legislative body chooses to censor its members to keep them from properly debating, asking questions, expressing opinions on their behalf, that the only reason that they can think is because deliberations have happened already, and citizens' opinions, it's a violation of sunshine laws, where decisions have been made prior to a meeting. Otherwise, why would you want to be in such a hurry to go home? The senior commissioner did say it, but every commissioner in this chamber has an opportunity to speak every meeting. But somebody inevitably calls the question and censors your right to speak. Procedurally, they have that right. It's under Robert's Rules of Order. So this gag rule that we're putting in place here, the censorship rule that we're trying to do tonight, is already available. It's available to us every month through Call the Question. So, again, we meet once a month. I'm not on any committees. I'm on one committee that meets 2 or 3 times a year. So I don't really get to express my opinions very often in committee. If you can't sit here for a couple hours once a month, I respectfully, I think it'd be a good idea not to be a part of the deliberations. You might need to resign your seat and let somebody else do the people's business out of respect to the people. That if you can't just sit here and listen, and even, I don't think I have voted for Call the Question. I may have done it once. But I respect everybody's right to express their opinion, regardless if I agree with it or not. And I don't care if I'm here at 2 in the morning, once a month, because that's what we're here to do. That's what we signed up for. So I would like to make an amendment, Mr. Chairman. I don't, you have to give me some guidance on that. Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking.
Hang on, no, Mr. Mansfield, she called a point of order, so hang tight. We'll get to your amendment in just a second. Yeah, Mr. Mansfield, would you please wear your face mask while you're speaking?
Well, I'm 7 feet apart from the member, so.
She's requested, I'm going to ask out of the honor of the room that you do that in the commission. Okay.
So what I'm going to do, Mr. Chairman, is suggest, I'd like to make an amendment, should the main motion pass, that we eliminate call for the question as part of our rules.
Okay, that would be an improper amendment. You can't make a prospective. You could offer a rule change to strike call the question.
Then I will make a rule change, an amendment to strike call the question from our standing rules and procedures from this legislative body.
Okay?
That's my amendment.
Hang on one second, Mr. Smith. Yeah, that's a separate. This is specifically connected to the resolution is written to capture the, as it's written, to capture the parts that are in yellow. My interpretation is that would need to go through to remove call the question. We'd need to take that back through legislative and back to the floor.
Okay. With that, I strongly oppose any yes votes to this and yield my time back.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Driver.
Excuse me. I'm probably going to take the unpopular route on this. First of all, I'd like to say, because just, Mr. Chairman, that just since I've been here in 2 terms, we've stayed here several times past midnight. It did not matter how many citizens signed up to talk, every citizen got to speak. Every citizen got to speak. Okay? So, I just want to make sure to put that out there, that we're not limiting citizens' opportunity to speak. They have the opportunity to sign up and speak at every meeting, every single meeting. Okay? I agree with Mr. Hyde. I don't care which side you're on of anything. I'm glad to hear your opinion. There have been many times when I thought I was going to vote one way and somebody got up and said something and it changed my mind and I decided to vote a different way. So I believe opposing opinions are good things at all times. Okay? However, I do think that we've had issues here where we've had people take up so much time that people did not really get to speak. It got an hour into debate or whatever else. We got a call for the question. Things got cut off many times before I got questions answered that I needed to have answered, because a few took up many parts of time. Okay? This, what we're voting on, according to what I'm reading here, says comments will be limited to 5-minute increments by any speaker, so that other commissioners in the queue will be allowed to timely express their stance on the topic at hand. Am I reading this wrong? This does not mean they get to speak one time for 5 minutes.
That's correct.
Once it goes around the
5-minute
queue,
increments.
they can speak for 5 minutes again. And if it goes around the queue, they can speak for 5 more minutes. Okay? What we're limited is people talking for ever and a day and other people not getting to speak. Okay? I want to make that clear. We are not Congress. We don't meet for numerous days of the year. We cannot continue things until the next day or 2 days or 3 days. We meet 12 times a year and we have a certain amount of time to get things done. Okay? And again, unlike Congress, if you ever watch C-SPAN and you watch people getting up and speaking for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and you see the chamber, you notice nobody's there. We're all here whenever these meetings meet, and we are listening to these things. Okay, this motion was actually made to try to allow more commissioners an opportunity to speak. And so I personally am in favor of this bill, and I personally do not see this as limiting people's opportunity to talk, since they can get back in the queue as many times as they need to. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Driver. I'd ask fellow commissioners to listen to the commissioner that's speaking, give them your attention. Let's cut back on the side chatter, please. All right, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to read a definition of Robert's Rules of Order. It says, it was developed to ensure that meetings are fair, efficient, democratic, and orderly. A skilled chairperson allows all members to voice their opinions in an orderly manner so that everyone in the meeting can hear and be heard. I wasn't part of the legislative meeting, but I assume that this resolution was offered in that spirit, was it not, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, again.
I said I assume, I wasn't in the legislative meeting, but I assume this resolution was offered in that spirit to allow all members to voice their opinions in an orderly manner so that everyone in the meeting can hear and be heard.
That's correct.
Okay, I want to ask for clarification. Commissioner Driver brought it up that a commissioner is not limited to 5 minutes per item. He's limited to 5 minutes at a time, so he could have multiple 5-minute. Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so in that spirit, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to offer amendment. To read this to you, and says, under the rules and Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, the right of members to participate in debate is limited to 2 10-minute speeches per day on a question. So I'm going to offer that amendment that we include that, since we're trying to strengthen our adaptation to Robert's Rules of Order. I'm going to offer that amendment that each member of this body is limited to 2 10-minute speeches on any one particular topic.
Okay, is there a second? Any seconds? Okay, Mr. Foster, the amendment dies without a second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to address a couple different issues that were brought up. You know, we hear often from citizens, as well as I believe we have all said before, we don't want to be DC. That's not our goal in Sumner County, is to be Washington, D.C. And like a fellow commissioner just said, if you watch debates in D.C., people speak for hours upon hours to an empty chamber. That is not what we want. We want to be here. We want to be active participants in the discussion. And in order to do that, we heard, do we want to do a good job, and are we sending the message that we only want to spend 5 minutes on a topic? That is not at all the message that we're trying to send. The message that we're trying to send is there are 24 elected commissioners up here, and each 24 of us want to have the opportunity to be able to speak and to be heard, so that we're not speaking to an empty chamber. And we're not disallowing anyone to speak. But what we are doing is allowing all 24 commissioners the opportunity to speak in 5-minute increments. You can speak and get in the queue as many times as you want. There's often been times where the call for the question, it is voted on, and I've been in the queue before, and the call for the question is passed, and I've not gotten to speak. It is what it is. The vote is what it is. But I do believe if this rule were in place at the time, it would have been limited for 5 minutes, and for those of us who had not gotten an opportunity to speak, we would have had that opportunity to speak. And so I would respectfully ask this body that we would adopt this rule change so that the 24, each of us has an opportunity to speak, and we can speak as many times as we want. We can get in the queue 6 times if we want to speak, but it would be with the respect of the fellow commissioner sitting to your left and the fellow commissioner sitting to your right, that we would all have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Ms. Kruger.
Everybody's kind of nailed what I think this is all about. It's about respecting one another. At this point, it feels like there's not enough respect in the room for each of us to represent our own citizens, the citizens in our district, the people that call us. I've had people call me and say, I don't know how you can sit there and just and not say anything when the same thing's being said over and over and over and over and over. And it seems like it goes on forever. And they don't understand why that's the thing. Why is it not that everybody gets, and they'll watch, they see the lights. I've had people ask me, well, why does, so-and-so had their light on for forever and then they just turned it off? Well, I think people turn their lights off to get out of the queue because they've sat so long to wait in the queue that they realize it's not going to matter. It's just going to be called for the question because what they're going to say is not really going to be heard anyway, maybe. Citizens don't like to sit and even watch the videos when they're watching the videos. They're tired of watching all the way through. They're like, we skip. We don't even watch it live anymore because we just skip through everything because it just goes on and on and on. There's not enough respect for each of us to have 5 minutes of time and then, again, cycle back through, get 5 more minutes. No one's being limited. No one's freedom of speech is being taken away in any stretch of the imagination by looking at this. If you go back and look at our meetings, it's actually very rare when anybody speaks for more than a minute or 2 minutes. Goodness, the Gettysburg Address was what, less than 3 minutes long? It's not like it's you can get your point done if you're doing your work. I work on this more than one night a month. I work on this all month. When I see the agenda, I start doing my homework. I start asking my questions then. Is it breaking sunshine law for me to call the finance director and ask questions? No. I ask my questions. If there's things that come up in the questions I ask that I feel like need to be pointed out during the meeting, then I, by all means, will get in the queue and say, these are the things that I found out by asking this person, and this person. Those are things we can point out, but it's not things that we have to sit here and ask on the floor. This is not a night full of gotcha moments. It shouldn't be a night full of gotcha moments on video. That's not what our meeting is supposed to be. If you're doing your work beforehand, then you shouldn't have that much to say that you can't get out in 5 minutes and then get back in the queue for another 5 minutes. But just have the respect for one another that we can all get our 5 minutes in.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kruger. Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. As a committee chairman, I often call on commissioners who are not in the committee if they have something to say with regards to our committee. So commissioners who are not on committees can speak at committee meetings that they're not members of. The call to question has been mentioned several times. Here's my opinion on how what's happening there. If you've got two commissioners who are speaking, say, on opposite sides of an issue, and one of them speaking for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and the other one speaks for 20, 30, 40 minutes, somebody's going to call the question because they've heard everything stated by one or two people. This, I think, gives people everybody the opportunity to speak, as has been said. If we go through the queue and everybody's spoken, then somebody can go and speak again. It doesn't limit anybody's speech to 5 minutes. I have timed everybody who's spoken on this, and not one person's gone over 5 minutes. This is such an important issue, as everybody's saying, and nobody had to speak for more than 5 minutes. So I believe that 5 minutes is a reasonable amount of time. I don't think I could speak on any issue in here for 40 minutes and say something that's worth saying. So I support this measure, and I'm not going to call for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Mr. Henry.
I just done a little math, and tonight's agenda would, everybody took advantage of speaking 5 minutes, would take 20 hours. 18, if you knock out the ones, it's pretty well always voted aye or nay. So there's got to be some logical, nonpartisan, non-sadistic approach to manage this better than spending 2 hours on each item that's got a star beside it. Now, here's what does bother me just a little bit. If I happen to be the first one that speaks for or against an item, when my 5 minutes is up, then I yield the floor if this passes. Now, if it goes to somebody that's for it, if I'm against it and they do a far better job or say things that I don't believe is in fact a fact, and 3 commissioners down the row calls for the question, then I'm dead in the water. I have no chance to rebuttal the rebuttal. And I think we ought to add an amendment that the call for the question can't be called for until we enter the second 5-minute scenario. Now that, if you don't do that, if somebody's quick to the gun, there will literally be people who won't get to make an argument or finish an argument or whatever, and that prevents that from happening. So I'd like to offer that as an amendment, that nobody can call for the question until every commissioner has had an opportunity to speak on the subject if they choose to. Okay. We won't call for the question as long as lights are on waiting to speak, and that's my amendment.
Okay. Mr. Hinton, I talked to Ms. Denon, the law director, and she thinks that we would need to take the call to the question, just as I ruled on Mr. Mansfield's amendment, that anything involving call to the question is a different section of the rules, and that we would need to take that back to legislative and clean it up and bring it back.
Then I vote, and I make a motion to table.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hinton to table, send it back to legislative. Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Hinton to table. Second by Commissioner Becker. Okay. I've got. What's that?
Point of order.
Yes.
Is the spirit in that motion to return it back to legislative so that we can bring it forward with your amendment?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I should have said that.
Okay. All right. All right. So we've got a motion and a second. We've got the following people in the queue. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gaminden, Mr. Graves that have not spoken yet, and then Mr. Becker, Mr. Taylor, Commissioner Mo Taylor, and Commissioner Mansfield that are back in the queue. Do any of y'all wish to speak? Can we, table's not debatable, is it? Table's not debatable. Okay, I'm sorry. So let's vote.
All right, the motion to table and send back to legislative is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 20 affirmative votes, the resolution is tabled back to legislative.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right, let's go to our 2104-02, our public notice.
The Sumner County Board of County Commission will hold a public hearing on April 19th, 2021 in the Bethel-bound Commission Chambers. The Gravel Company PUD rezoning and concept plan. Jason Cannon, represented by Green LID Design, 4th Commission District, Voting District, Jerry Foster, Leslie Shell. Applicant is seeking to rezone from rural residential to planned unit development for the purpose of constructing and operating a landscaping material sales business as depicted upon the submitted concept plan. Subject property is located at 1415 Old Highway 109 North in Gallatin, is on tax map 104, parcel 83, contains 11.5 acres, and is zoned rural residential. The Sumner County Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation related to this item on February 23rd. Copy of this notice is on file in the Planning Commission office. Anyone having any questions about this item are requested to attend the meeting.
Okay. We'll call the public meeting to order. Does anyone wish to speak about this public notice? Okay. We'll close public comments. Commissioner Mo Taylor, you're in the queue. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me come back to you in just a second. I get a motion in a second. Is there a motion to approve 2104-02? Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Just a couple questions for, there we got 3 members of the Planning Commission sitting here, so either one of them's fine with me or the Planning Director. Will this ever have access to new 109?
Hang on, I asked at the start to not.
Well, I directed
You're
you.
fine, you're fine, yeah. So let me, without objection, Josh, would you mind answering this? I don't think it's a big deal, but I don't want to break my own rule like 5 minutes after I made it.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I couldn't hear what the question was.
Okay, Commissioner Taylor, could you ask your question again?
Will this have future access to new 109?
No, sir, it will not.
Mr. Chairman, I'm guessing there wasn't any citizen complaints regarding.
None that I've heard of, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I see no one else in the queue. Let's vote.
Resolution's on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? It is unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right, your consent agenda, remember that we moved 2104-13 to the main budget committee. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda? Motion made by Commissioner Foster. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, sir. There's some items in there in the transfers. I didn't pull them off and not going to debate them, but I'm not going to vote for the consent agenda because I didn't agree with the transfers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, I have in opposition, I have Commissioner Mo Taylor and Commissioner Mansfield. Anyone else? No vote. Okay, I had the motion passing 21-2. All right. Your report of your county officials are on your are submitted to you electronically. Notaries, is there a motion to approve our notaries? Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, second by Commissioner Kruger. Let's vote.
Election of notaries is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? The notaries are elected unanimously.
The notaries win again. They're undefeated. Committee on Committees, Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee on Committees met in a regular scheduled meeting April 19, 2021, 6:30. There were two items on the agenda. Equalization Board, Earl Fisher, alternate two-year term, that position to be filled by Judy Bell, and a recommendation by the county mayor, and it was unanimous, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Good, seconded by Commissioner DeWitt. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, please show Commissioner Mo Taylor abstaining. Motion passes 22-0 unanimously, with one abstention. Okay, Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Mayor recommended a reappointment to Radford Garrett as the alternative Equalization Board. It was unanimous, I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Good, second by Commissioner DeWitt. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Commissioner Mo Taylor abstains. Motion passes unanimously. All right, Mr. Good.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, once again, I made this request last month and will again this month. The county mayor still is seeking. We have one more position on the Board of Equalization. We try to separate them throughout the county, so someone in and around Gallatin would be served best, but it doesn't have to be. And so if any commissioner knows of someone that they would like to recommend for this Board of Equalization, especially someone that's maybe in investor, real estate, something to do with that world, please let the county mayor know. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Good. All right, education, Mr. Ring, I think you're standing in for Mr. Sullivan tonight.
Yes, sir. Education Committee has a resolution 2104-03, accepting the low bid of Infinity Pipeline, Inc., for the construction of the Liberty Creek Campus Upper Station Camp Creek Sewer Extension Project, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Ring. Is there a second by Commissioner Stewart? Mr. Graves, you're in the queue.
I just got a couple of questions. Was all the documents obtained before now?
Yes, sir.
They are all obtained?
Yes, sir.
Did other people bid on this, my question?
Yes, sir.
Can I get it? I don't have but 2 pieces of paper with me.
We'll have to, it's on the school board bid site, or in the school board, it's in the school board minutes. Oh, it's in there, I'm sorry, Mr. Graves. Hang on, we'll find out.
Yeah, there's
How many?
3 of them.
Page 28, Mr. Graves,
I
hang
don't
on.
have,
Hang on, I'll just tell you how many there were.
thank you, Dave.
4. We had Infinity Pipeline, Charles DeWeese Construction, John T. Hall Construction, and Cleary Construction.
And they went through all the steps, bonded and so forth
Yes, sir.
to do this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. I see no one else in the queue. Let's vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question about the Geo whatever access road. What's the status of that? What is the result of that as part of the sewer line bid?
Everything that was in the bid originally, which includes that, I can't remember the name of it, Geo whatever, it's in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ring.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just wanted to clarify. With regards to the bids, as you said, there were 4 bids. This was the low bidder by about $500,000.
That's correct. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ring. All right, see no one else in the queue. Let's vote.
Resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 20 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Highway, Mr. Hinton.
We had, Mr. Commendon and myself up in our district had a horrendous hail and windstorm, and the roads were stacked with limbs, and I talked about this in the legislative committee the other night. We'll do something for these folks, but we had brush trucks from Gallatin, we had brush trucks from Westmoreland, we had brush trucks from the county. The county sent all the equipment up there that they needed to deal with this. We had a local farmer who allowed them to haul all the brush on his farm and burn it instead of having to haul it all the way to Gallatin. The Chamber of Commerce for the city of Portland organized things. First Baptist Church, we had another Baptist church that furnished a van to haul the workers from one dump box to another. Everybody, it was amazing to see the people come from here and yonder, and the city of Portland, city of Westmoreland, and Gallatin, they had no obligation to come and help out, but they chose to do that. And so we'll have something for some recommendations for recognition at next month's meeting, because there's a lot of people who've done a lot of good work, and the people up there appreciate it. It's amazing how fast that place started going back to looking like a community instead of being blown away. Had Salvation Army. People rolled out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton, for bringing that back up again. I'm glad we got to share that and send our commendations to all those involved. That was amazing work and just shows how great Sumner County is. Commissioner Taylor, are you on the highway? Yes, sir.
Just to echo what Commissioner Hinton said, this was my district as well that was affected, and we had at least 3 or 4 former county commissioners that live in this area, and I know one of them was directly affected because I reached out to him that afternoon. But he's safe, everything's okay, but he had some damage, and just to commend everybody, and even one of the former commissioners, I think, let us use his facility, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Joe Freeman, so Commissioner a long time ago, so.
Yes, sir.
Good work by everybody.
That was wonderful work. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Wright.
I was there that night about 7 to 8 minutes after it hit. Some of my neighbors, some of my kinfolk, my in-laws live on Cook Road. Commissioner Guthrie was there that night. He sent me to a post, but they let me know that all my family and my friends were okay. I want to thank EMA, EMS, all the volunteer fire departments that come out and assisted. We had trees across the road. We couldn't get to people. Didn't know if people were still alive or not, folks. If you hadn't been there, I hope you don't have to be in that situation, because it's not a good situation to be in. But I want to send a heartfelt thanks to all the volunteers, Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Even though I'm a member of it, there's a lot of people that come out that didn't have to. EMA, EMS, I just can't say enough. That's all I got. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'm glad that all your family is okay.
Needs to be thanked.
Yes, sir.
Because nobody got hurt, and that person ain't on this earth.
I can't transition out of that, Ms. Shell, General Ops.
No report, sir.
Emergency Services, Mr. Driver.
Yes, I'm just going to say this in relation to 2104-05. We ran into a problem with being able to pay this money to the Westmoreland volunteers, and we could not resolve it in our committee because we had new information. We sent this along to Mr. Lawing and basically 2104-05 is what we've come up to be able to pay them with on this year. And I'm not sure that that's what we'll be able to do in the future, but that will get them their money for this year, like the other volunteer fire departments. I'll also say that make sure that everybody knows they cover not just the city, but way outside of their areas. And speaking to the EMA director, he said if we did not have this department doing that, we'd be in bad shape. There was no way we could cover those areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Driver. Financial Management, Mr. Becker.
No report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Becker. Legislative, Mr. Ring.
No, we've covered it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ring. Now, Budget, Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2104-04, appropriating $251,131 from the Capital Projects Local Fund Restricted Fund Balance for Sumner County's Comprehensive Plan Update. This is one that is the next step in our evolution as far as updating and getting into modern times our planning and zoning. Initially, we did it with Josh rewriting all of our zoning laws. It saved us about $1 million, which is what cost Williamson County. They can't do this one on the free. We need to have an impartial third party go and do this. They've contracted GR&C to look at it. This is going to be the money that's going to redo the unincorporated parts of the county and the county itself to say, hey, I'm sorry, just the unincorporated parts of the county to help us, one, get input from the citizens. They'll look at infrastructure. They'll do all the traffic analysis, all the things that are required for it, and then they're going to come back and say, hey, here's what you should have as far as zoning for the parts of the county that are updated. The last one we had, obviously, is pretty old. A lot of the roads that are on there aren't on there. When I say that, I mean the old one, you'll have a map, and it doesn't show a road or a subdivision that's there now. So we just can't work with what we have. We've done a great job over the past year and a half of really progressing as far as the county, protecting ourselves and making sure that we're structured and precise in our growth. This will be the next step in making sure we do that, and I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, second by Commissioner Goode. Hey, y'all, let me ask I know everybody's mask weary and everything, but just out of respect for the rules of the building, I'd encourage everybody to wear your mask while we're in here, so please do that. Be greatly appreciated. Commissioner Mo Taylor, you're next in the queue.
So the GNRC is doing this.
Yes.
So we're going out of Nashville.
Greater Nashville.
The Greater Nashville Resource Authority.
Mo, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Hang on one second. Let me can you clarify, Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, they're currently doing one for Gallatin. And help me out, Josh. There's two other local areas they're doing it, and it's the same thing. They're kind of a quasi-government agency, and they do it for. That's who we go to for the mid-state, and they're the ones that they set up the public meetings. They're very formalized. They've done it for other counties. They do it successfully. It takes a minute or two, but it's because they're very thorough in it, and that's why we're going with them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Commissioner Taylor.
Who did the one that we adopted in 2010?
Mr. Holt, do you remember?
Yes, sir. That was done in-house by Michael Briggs, and it was very limited, but we needed one. We had nothing. And we've got Josh Suddeth here tonight, our planner, and he may be able to speak more intelligently about GNRC services. I know they're doing one right now for Rutherford County, and they're trying to complete the one for the city of Gallatin. And I think it's something that's desperately needed. Without any plan, you have no plan for growth, and it's occurring rapidly. So, Mr. Chairman, that may be a resource we want to call on.
Okay. Josh, would you like to speak without objection?
Well, I wasn't done.
I'm sorry. I was going to get that answer to that question, then I'll come back to you.
Just stop.
Sorry. I think I'd be used to this thing by now.
Mr. Kemp has an objection, but go ahead.
Good. So as it's kind of been said, I think the comprehensive plan, the one we have right now, was the first one that had ever been adopted. It was done during a very slow period here at the county and during the Great Recession, essentially, when there wasn't much really going on, to be honest with you. Was mostly able to be taken care of in-house. The Nashville Metropolitan Planning Organization, maybe the GNRC, but I know the NPO assisted with a whole lot of it as well. So we went to an outside agency back then as well. You know, this plan that we're you know, hoping to get going is desperately needed, as Commissioner Chris Taylor mentioned just a little while ago. As we have projects that come through, one of them, there's one on Roberts Road that recently came through, right off of New Highway 109, and there's a question about, well, does the comp plan support that? Well, our comp plan doesn't even show the road there. It doesn't even show the new highway being built, so it wasn't constructed up there yet. So there's stuff like that where we've got major highways that have changed, new ones, improvements that are proposed for things like 386 and other roadways, major school facilities that have been, you know, that are underway right now that are going to need to be reflected in an overall plan. Other things like Castaglian Springs, there's a historic overlay for that area that is not reflected at all in our comprehensive plan. That's a totally unique historic overlay. There's no other county that has anything like that in the state of Tennessee. It's not reflected in our current comp plan at all. You know, as we go forward, we're all seeing a good bit of growth. You know, we're trying to, as I said, when things come in, we try to look at what's in the comp plan. Ideally, what you want to have is a set of tools like we have now with the zoning resolution, where you're able to keep it up to date. You know, it evolves over time as situation changes. What I've got right now, really, with the current comprehensive plan that we have, there's been change over time. Different planning directors and that kind of thing have come through. I don't have when you look at a comp plan like that, you've got maps and layers. GIS is what it's called. So you have these mapping layers, and they're shape files is what they're called, where you're able to keep up with how things have changed over time on your comp plan. All I've got is just the scanned PDF document. That's all I've got. All the other fancy electronic files have been lost. They're gone. Don't know where they are. We've looked for them. May have never had them. I don't know. And so it's not even a plan that we can really keep up to date. So it's like, even if I want to go in there and update it, I really don't have the ability. It's just like I said, just like taking the plan and putting it through the copier. That's what I've got, basically. And so ideally, we'd like to have GNRC to work with us. They're a great organization. They provide all kinds of services. Mayor Holt knows a lot more about them than I do, but you know, they provide metropolitan planning, transportation planning services, all kinds of services related to solid waste, aging services for the elderly, transportation services as far as getting people around and that kind of thing. It's all coordinated through that organization. They have a planning component as well, and this is one of the services that they offer. I contacted the executive director, Michael Skipper, over there about the possibility of helping us out with this. He indicated that they would be able to do it. They just needed to know when so they could get on their timeline. He's inquired a couple times lately on where we are. I think they're anxious to get started on it if the county commission wants to go that route.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the director a couple questions?
Let me, Commissioner Taylor, are you okay with that? If I let Mr. Graves ask him a question while he's up here?
As long as you come back to me.
I'll come back to you. I promise. Go ahead, Mr. Graves.
I just want to ask him, is that plan going to show the roads? You're talking about roads is not there, but is it going to show like the road? A lot of roads, the county don't own none of the road. Will that show some of that?
I think that's a fantastic idea. That is absolutely something that they do need to look at so that the county can kind of get our arms around something someday. I don't know what the solution to that issue is. I know exactly what you're talking about. County maintains a strip of pavement through there, but doesn't actually own what's underneath it, is essentially the situation. And so how we're going to get our arms around that, but I think that's something that absolutely they could look at to help us figure out what's it going to take to get our arms around that problem as far as lane miles and that kind of thing. Yes, sir. That's the kind of thing through the process that GNRC is going to be inquiring about, and they're going to talk to everybody, find out issues just like that right there, where there's something out there that might be relatively unique. I'm sure that's an issue that's across the state, but it's a unique issue, and try to help find ways to get around it. And they've got our staffing is extremely limited here at Sumner County. Everybody in Middle Tennessee, their staffing is extremely limited. There's just not enough staff to keep up with the growth, and I'm sure GNRC is the same, but they're a much bigger organization, planning-wise anyway, than we are. So they've got more resources at their disposal as far as research and that kind of thing to help us get our arms around that kind of question. Because I could spend weeks looking into that with Miss Judy and going through deeds and that kind of thing.
That's what brought it to my attention, Mr. Chairman. The highway department, she's telling me now we're just going to put a water line down the road. So we have to research that DMDs to find out if the county, well, in this case, the property owners own halfway to the road. So automatically, we're going to have to get an easement. We can't use with the highway department's permission to use that without getting property owners. And also, the other question was, will it help private land acreage? I'll give you an example. I got a 57-acre farm up in Oak Grove. Well, I've done a surveying on it. It's only got 53 acres, so I lost 4 acres somehow. So, I mean, me and my family has been paying taxes on, for years, minus the 4 acres. We've been paying taxes on that 4 acres. And I just wonder if there's some kind of, in that plan would correct some of that. Of course, it's a tax assessor, I realize that.
It could. They have, one thing that the county doesn't have that a lot of larger municipalities might have is like a GIS division or department or something, a mapping crew, that does that kind of thing. GIS, or the GNRC, sorry, and Mayor Holt can back me up on this. They got the best one I've ever seen. They've probably got the best mapping group of folks. There's a guy named Max Baker that heads that up. That they just do a phenomenal job. And so they can pull all that data and really help you get your arms around the current existing land uses and property boundaries. Some of that's probably tied up in old deeds and that kind of thing where they were measuring from one oak tree to one dead sycamore snag and that kind of thing. But yeah, rocks, right? And so some of that might be a little bit too deep, I don't know, but there's some.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Mo Taylor. Hang on one second, Mr. We're coming back to you. There you go. You're good now.
We good? The price tag on this is what this, I have an issue with. The GNRC, I've talked to a lot of those people down there. There's some nice people, very helpful. I do have concerns, though, that, planning out of a Nashville area, I for one don't want my Sumner County to become like Nashville. I just don't. So I went to the last time that we had one of these adopted, I went to the community meetings that were held out in the community. One of them was held at North Sumner Elementary School in 2010 before it was adopted by the county commission and before I was elected. And they had them all over I don't know about all over the county, but they had 3 or 4 of those. That's got to be a vital part of anything that we do when we're planning for our county. It just has to be vital that you get citizens' input, that existing property owners that own property, input, not somebody that sits at a desk in Nashville or somewhere else, Murfreesboro, or somebody that doesn't know our area. We've got people, not just me, that still doesn't have access to city water, but we're going to plan for $251,000 to be spent. So that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to an opinion just as well, and it's still on the topic.
Yeah. And I believe that, I believe if I understand correctly from what I heard from Commissioner Taylor saying earlier, is that public comments and gathering all that information is a big part of what this project includes. Is exactly what you're talking about, public
Right.
hearings and meetings.
I just wanted to be on record to make sure that that's
Sure.
something that absolutely has to happen, because enough of it didn't happen the last time. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. I guess why wasn't this roughly $250,000 asked for or disclosed to the commission last summer when the new zoning resolution was brought forth as part of this process? Was it unknown at the time or just didn't want to talk about it?
Commissioner Taylor.
See what happens, Josh? You wait and it goes red and then you're allowed to talk on it. Actually, it was kind of the cart before the horse. We had to get the zoning laws done, or the rezoning done, just to get that in place. It wouldn't have made any sense to do the other because we had such craziness on the books as far as what was and wasn't allowed. And when we redid the zoning, it kind of defined what you can and can't build within the county. And so the next logical step is then to say, okay, where does this all apply exactly? And that's kind of where we're at now.
So my next question is, this might be for Josh, is part of this plan, is there going to be a study done? I keep getting the question asked to me by citizens, why do I have to pay for somebody else's new growth out in the county? From like what Gallatin does, or White House, or Hendersonville. And is there going to be a study done in this plan? How can new growth for capital needs such as schools or roads or whatever be paid for without property tax increases? When you're saying we're growing, you know, we're growing only because people vote to allow the rezonings. And that's the only reason why we're, you know, growing at such a rapid rate, is because these cities are rezoning land past what their current zoning is.
I can answer that one for you, sir.
Okay, hang on, Michelle. Let him finish his question, I'll come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so basically, my question is this study going to include ways to pay for growth outside of, I'm requesting, I guess we study that as part of this, as outside of property tax increases. How's this growth going to pay for itself? I mean, that's the biggest question in everybody's mind. And so I guess I'm asking that be included. What are ideas that they're going to have for these cities to pay for their growth, for these capital needs that they're contributing to and really causing at the detriment of other people who don't want things to happen, but they're paying for it anyway. So that's really part of, I think, should be a part of this plan. If you're going to talk about growth comprehensively, is really the cost factor to growth, both positive and negative.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Taylor, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, sir. That's not included. It's not something they necessarily do. What we're bidding out is them coming in, meeting with the citizens, having public meetings, doing the infrastructure study, looking at, you know, our current road systems, everything else, taking in what our zonings are, what our zoning rules are, and then from there creating what can and can't be built where. And that's really, they don't, that's not something they do, and it's certainly not included in this bid. Just to put in perspective, we're paying $251. I think Gallatin's paying right at $250 also. So it's a comparable number for what we're getting, but that's not something. Now, if you'd like us to look for that, Jeremy, on a budget, we can try and see if, put an RFP out and see if somebody will, a consultant group or somebody will jump on that.
Yes, sir. Hang on 1 second. Here you go.
I will say GNRC, Mr. Chairman, is at this time, I believe, working on something very similar to what's being discussed for Wilson County. And so now that is a separate item, might be something that could be referred to in the comp plan, but it's something that's probably a separate area of study. They're looking at a comprehensive set of impact fees and that kind of thing for Wilson County at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mansfield, does that answer your question?
It sort of did. I was going to respond to the budget, Chairman, if you allow me to. So as part of that planning process, or I guess the charrettes that you're going to be having out in the communities, I hope that you're going to be looking at the planning study is going to be looking at capacity for schools and where this growth is happening. Because if you're talking about growth or it's going to come in here, then that should be, it's pretty elementary, because I guess right now our school capacity chart's about 2 years outdated, but that should be updated as well and part of this process. But that should definitely be something that's presented to the city and county saying, hey, your schools are over capacity over here. So if you're going to push growth out here, you're going to need to build new schools. So I would think that's should be included as a part of this process, so people know what exactly this growth is pushing and what the capacity it's going to. If you build a neighborhood of 4,000 homes in this one area that's schools over capacity, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that you're going to have to build new schools. So I would think that would be a part of that study or the release to the public saying, hey, growth over here is going to cost you if you're going to grow in this area.
It's not in this one, but like I said, I will be glad to have Mr. Long put it on our agenda for next month to reach out to them and we can kind of bring it up for everybody in the full commission to say, hey, what all do we want to include in that when we put it out for bid with them? I'll be glad. I mean, if you want to do that, this one doesn't have any of that in there. It's just strictly looking at kind of those facts we talked about.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to take certain things into account. We can bring up whatever we want to, Jeremy, but I think as far as the scope of what they do, they'll do it. It just might cost a little bit more money. And like Josh was saying, it's not going to be included in this one. It's a separate one. But we can certainly look at it if you want us to.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Chairman, I said I was not going to speak more than 5 minutes, but you've made a liar out of me tonight. I cannot vote for this. I was a former resident of Nashville, and if I agreed with the things that they do, sorry for you that worked in Nashville, but if I agreed with the things that they do in Nashville, I would be living in Nashville. And I don't want to be associated with anything that even has the name Nashville. Nashville Regional Council means us. It doesn't mean Nashville. They're reaching their tentacles out, no matter what anybody says. It is to benefit Nashville and open up Sumner County to benefit Nashville. Even the residents of Nashville voted against the rapid rail system. And I guarantee you that would be a part of anything that they're planning. And we talk about growth. We're developing like we can't control it. We're the creators of it. We need to stop and think. I'm not opposed to development, and I'm not opposed to growth. But my heavens, we don't need people from Nashville opening up Sumner County with plans of growth until we can get our hands around schools, roads, libraries, police, fire, and all the other things that are required as infrastructure. Now, no matter what anybody else says, for $251,000, we could do this in-house and not have them controlling what we do in Sumner County. And I may be the only one that feels like this, but I'll cast my vote and sleep more easily on that tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hyde. When you first stood up, I thought you were going to call the question. I thought, now that would have been. Mr. Becker.
Yes, I am. I've never really been a fan of an expenditure this amount of money without it being an urgent request outside of their normal budget cycle or budget process. And I know I'm sure the budget committee is already ramping up for this upcoming budget cycle. And reading a note from Josh, he did indicate if it failed, it would be included in his budget request for the upcoming fiscal year. So I'm going to, I'm going to be voting no against this tonight. I mean, it's a large chunk of money. We're about to do the budget cycle anyway. It sounds like per Josh's email, he's already thinking along those lines. And so I would like to make a motion to table this to the budget cycle.
Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Becker to table this, seconded by Commissioner Mo Taylor. There's no discussion on that, so a yes vote is to table, a no vote is to continue discussion. Okay, give us 1 second to get the voting table set up.
It's stuck on you again.
He actually has the floor right now.
I'll turn you off. All right. The motion to table is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. With 12 affirmative votes, motion to table fails to carry.
Okay, we're back on discussing. Mr. Becker, did you have anything else?
Yes.
Hang on one second. Let me get you back on camera. There you go.
Okay. So in the same email I mentioned, it sounded like there's roughly 28,455 more exact of money that could be used that's already there in other buckets. Is that is the 251? Should that 251 be lower, decreased by the 28,455, or where's that 28,455 come into play?
Yeah, let me go to the finance director real quickly.
Projects, it's my recommendation, the 28,000, we let it expire and go back into the operating budgets, because we're going to probably need those for the coming fiscal year.
Okay.
So it'd be much more prudent just to go ahead and budget the whole amount out of capital.
Yes, sir.
No,
it failed.
It failed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so my last question is because.
Hang on, y'all, listen up.
My last question for now, at least, is because we are pretty much at the next budget cycle, what is the benefit of doing this now versus waiting for 2 months?
What's that? Go ahead, Mr. Taylor, you answer the question for Mr. Becker.
I dare not touch it until it's read. There we go. Actually, twofold. One is we want to get on it as soon as we can because it is a lengthy process. And two, the funds that it's going to be coming from aren't impacted by the budget necessarily. They're money that's separate from when we have our budget discussions. The budget discussions are going to be more directed towards operational costs and everything else, and this is going to be from capital. So it's a bucket of money that's going to be there 2 months from now, 3 months from now. So there's no sense waiting on it for the budget process. There's not really a benefit to it in that sense because the money we're not going to use the money for something different, if that makes sense.
All right, Mr. Becker.
Would this fall under a category to be brought from the, I guess, the hospital fund? It's economic sort of development related, or do we don't see it like that?
In theory, we could, Jerry, but I mean, we have money for it set aside for capital right now. It's just,
okay.
I kind of defer to David if he needs, but it's one of those, if we have the money right now, it makes sense to spend that rather than hit something that, we've kind of tried to keep a little bit away, from just haphazard use, more as something that kind of primes the pump, so to speak.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Mr. Goode.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, I think there's mass confusion here that the GNRC is a Nashville organization that's trying to push Nashville values or however. But number one, they hadn't been around that long. But GNRC is a group that primarily works for all of Middle Tennessee. It's an economic arm. They have they meet with all the mayors, the county mayors, city mayors, ECD. They're working as we speak for 13 Middle Tennessee counties. That's the way we've done it since I've been here for 15 years. And and they're lobbying for every one of us. So, a matter of fact, we talk a lot about the water we put in the northern part of the county. They were ones that helped with our grants. They have done tremendous work for Middle Tennessee, for Sumner County, and when they meet regional, and they have people that study just our areas. So just FYI for those that may not know what sometimes referred to as the part of the alphabet group, and the mayor, of course, can speak to it, but I used to attend a lot of these meetings in my federal world on a monthly basis. So it is a great benefit to Sumner County. And by the way, we pay to be in that, and we pay for the benefit of that, and we all have voted on it each year for over 15, 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Mr. Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's some misunderstanding of what's going on tonight. Mr. Good spoke about the Greater Nashville Regional Council. It has nothing per se to do with Nashville. The state, through the federal government, set these economic development districts up across the state years ago. Ours just happens to be called GNRC, Greater Nashville Regional Council. To the east of us is Upper Cumberland District. So they're set up all across the state, and Nashville has no control over that. Remember, these 13 counties that make up the GNRC Development District, the population way outnumbers the population of Metro Davidson County. So their services have nothing to do with bringing Nashville out here. I agree with Mr. Hyde. I don't want any part of that. We are suburban, not an urban, moving in a rural area that is becoming more suburban. To get down to the point of talking about us controlling the cities in the county, we have 7 municipalities that are functioning in our county. We have zero, and I'm going to stress that again, zero input. They don't listen to us. They have their own elected legislators. They're either city councilmen or aldermen or commissioners, and they have an elected mayor, or they have a city manager. So they have complete autonomy over their zoning and planning, and they do so accordingly, and they're not going to listen to the county. Now, the only way that we could change that dynamic is we could change state law. That's probably not going to happen. Or we could do what Nashville did, and I'm not a proponent of that, and that's to metropolitanize the whole county and make it one government and put it under your umbrella. And I don't think people would like that either. So the reality is what we're really talking about is planning out in the county proper, or just letting it do its thing. And let me tell you what's happening right now. It's not greedy developers. It's people who own property. These people are like myself. They're getting to be old men and ladies, and they're dying off. When they die off, their children are selling these farms. They're not farming anymore. My kids aren't interested in farming my farm. And the day they shovel dirt in my face will be the day that my children sell it to the highest bidder. And you know what? Property has gotten so high, they're going to build houses on it. So if we don't get proactive and spend the money and try to plan what's going on, then it's just going to happen. And when things happen, as well as our planner knows, there's no plan, there's no connection to infrastructure as far as roads. So you go out in the middle of nowhere, and nowhere is somewhere now, like Mr. Graves had spoken about earlier, and you're on a street that's very narrow that maybe has just barely enough room for 2 cars to pass, and there's no real ownership. So, you know, I think the responsibility is on us to make sure we become proactive and we put together the best possible plan we have. Because by right now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Planner, that anybody can take a farm that soil maps, or they put a step system in, and by right, they can divide it up in 1 acre lots. And so it's happening. It's going to continue to happen. We need to make sure that we come up with a consistent plan that the public buys into, so we have planned growth rather than chaotic growth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Mr. Hinton.
Sorry. Turn me off.
Okay. Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Chairman, at the next meeting, I wish the county executive would provide us, because I really would like to know, information on the GNRC. I'd like to see what their goals are, just general information, what their strategies are, their purpose. They must have that in writing somewhere. I'd like a copy of that, and I'm sure all commissioners would. In regard to family farms, I didn't understand that part. If I have a farm, Josh, and I want to subdivide it into residential, I cannot just do that without changing zoning, can I?
Yes, sir. Let me get my...
I can divide up my farm, even though it's zoned agricultural, without going through any permission and start subdividing my property.
You have to go to the planning commission and do a subdivision
there you go.
plat.
I would like to see us, I'd like to see us head toward a system somehow where we would take just, not all infrastructure, but just major infrastructure such as schools, roads, maybe just those two things, and say, look, we're not doing any more changing of zoning until we have adequate roads and we have adequate schools to accommodate this kind of growth, because that growth is usually projected in people, how many people the houses will bring, and because we used to get it in the school system, and at least guarantee that we will have those things taken care of so that we won't be in a situation of the tail wagging the dog. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to refer this back to the committee for further study.
Which committee, Mr. Hyde?
To the budget committee,
okay,
wherever it came from.
All right, it's been a motion made by Mr. Hyde to refer, second by Commissioner Mo Taylor. We tabled. Okay, so a yes vote is to refer to budget. Okay, we'll need 2/3 vote to refer to budget. A yes vote is to refer, a no vote is to continue debate.
Motion to refer is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. With 9 affirmative votes, motion to refer fails to carry.
Okay, Mr. Hyde, were you done, or did you have anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyde. All right, everybody else in the queue has had the opportunity to speak. So I'm going to ask at this time, please just bring up new points, okay? Commissioner Graves, I may have misspoken because you had a question, but you haven't had a comment yet. So I'm going to go to you first, and then we'll go to Commissioner Taylor. We'll go to you next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, the budget chair, that money was in a bucket and it ain't going nowhere. How big is that bucket?
I want to say it's about 2.5 million if I'm right. Is that right, David, on that one? Unless I'm getting confused.
At the beginning, if not, before this amendment, yes. About 2.5.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, this is probably not going to be out of order. I ain't been called out of order tonight, but so far, I could vote for this $251,131 if you would, if we get some money out of that bucket to put water lines.
Yes, sir, that's out of order. But it's a good try. And we kept the streak alive, Mr. Graves.
Sir?
We kept the streak alive, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
They need more money too.
All right, Commissioner Taylor, Mo Taylor.
Well, just my opinion on the $251,000 in that bucket that we was just talking about, that's a vital part of our budget process, in my opinion. The capital projects funds, 'Cause we buy all kinds of stuff out of that we're able to capitalize, and that's where we go to. I typically, when I try to do the water line grant stuff. So it just, we've debated, we've talked back all year and last year during the budget process about the water lines, and we didn't have money to do matching funds for the grant and stuff. But so I can't, I can't support this.
Okay.
So I can't plan in my area when, it's hard to plan something when you don't know when you're getting water. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad it was brought up about the .92 acre lots. Unfortunately, those really aren't being built in Sumner County because every planning commission at the city level and every level does high density rezoning beyond what the land was currently supposed to be zoned for. So I appreciate the senior commissioner from the 8th district bringing that up. Growth is really easy to control if you don't rezone every piece of property out there and you let people build under what's currently zoned for. I do think it's better to put this under the budget cycle, and so I move to defer this until our budget cycle comes up in June.
Okay. All right, so a motion to defer to budget is a majority vote. So a yes vote is to defer. A no vote is to continue discussion or to continue debate. Hang on one second.
Motion to defer is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote.
Yes, sir. It was, but we already voted. Mr. Goode, did you wish to speak about the resolution or the defer? Or Mr. Becker? Okay. All right.
The vote came out 7-15.
Okay. Does anybody wish to change your vote? We got 7 in favor of deferring, 15 opposed. Okay, motion to defer fails.
Main motion.
All right, Mr. Goode.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I kind of reiterate a little bit what I said, but to my colleague in the 8th also, and everyone else for that matter, as the mayor pointed out, GNRC is one of 9 economic development districts that the state legislature formed in the 60s. That's how long we've been helping use those guys. I would encourage you to go to their website because since they're a quasi-government agency, everything you can fathom from mission statements, goals, and everything is on there. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goode. Mr. Becker.
Yeah, I was just questioning, or had a question about the time, the amount of time that the study would take. In reading that email, it sounds like it's going to span over I guess 2 fiscal years. And is it possible to spread out? I mean, the funding. I know we've got to commit to it up front, but spreading out in any of the funding, is that even a possibility?
No.
Okay. The budget chair says no. Mr. Becker.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Mr. Ring.
Yes, sir. There's an old adage that failing to plan is planning to fail. And right now, we don't really have an effective plan. If we don't do this now, it'll be back up in the budget, and I suspect the Budget Committee will put it in the budget. And so what's the point of delaying it? This is about 10% of the amount of money we have in our capital fund, capital projects fund, and we have 2.5 months left. So I doubt if we're going to be spending another $2.25 million between now and then. There's no reason to delay this. We might as well just do it now and get it started. Thank you.
Okay. There's no one else in the queue, so let's vote. A yes vote is to approve the resolution. A no vote is in opposition to it.
Resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 17 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. This is a 2104-05. It's authorizing payments of $17,250 and $24,000 in the city of Westmoreland for the Westmoreland Volunteer Fire Department. This is money we actually allocated in the last budget. They had some issues with their 501c. In their defense, they weren't aware of it, and they've been rolling along for about 30 years thinking they had it. And then when we needed some paperwork from them, they didn't have it. Then we got into it a little bit more. It was going to be even more expensive for them to get it. Between Ms. Denham and Mr. Lawing, we have figured out a way where we can continue to support them, and it's going to be in giving it to the city of Westmoreland, who in turn will make sure the fire department has it. Again, it's our commitment to our volunteer fire. We have to have them, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Graves. I see no one else in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir. 2104-06. It's appropriating $108,100 from the general fund committed fund balance, remaining funds committed to the Portland Airport grant matches. What this is money we had already set aside years ago for the Portland Airport. We were doing $50,000 a year for a total. They have come into a position where they're eligible for a grant right now through the federal government. They've got to repave their entire tarmac. This would allow them to have the matching on hand so they don't have to worry about it. They're just asking for the money we've already appropriated for them all at once rather than having to wait another year and a half to get it. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Mr. Hinton. Mr. Hinton, did you have a comment? No. Okay. All right. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2104-07. It's appropriating $34,126 as pass-through funds for state inmate medical reimbursements to the budget of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Ring. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2104-08. It's appropriating $12,000 contribution from the city of Hendersonville for the Hendersonville Health Department facility upgrades. I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Taylor, second by Commissioner Stewart. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And it's the last one, sir.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. This came from the consent agenda, 2104-13. It's appropriating $16,216 from the general fund unassigned fund balance for Human Resources Director with projected start date of May 15, 2021. We had said for the past 2 years that we were going to do this in budget, and each year when we started getting to the cuts, it didn't make it. We've made a commitment this year that we have to do this. Mr. Holt and Mr. Lawing were asked to, a month ago, look at different ways that we could do this that would save the county money, was most feasible. They've done that by combining risk management into that, doing away with a position, scaling back a position. This is the additional money we would need this year to be able to hire an HR director within the month or so. That would get it in the same timeline for our payroll study that we're doing for the vast majority of the general government. So I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Taylor, second by Commissioner Nipper.
Thanks, buddy.
Ms. Shell.
That's actually a reminder for after this motion.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Mr. Becker.
Yeah, just my comment again about the timing versus just adding it into the budget. I mean, I know the budget chair just mentioned we've tried to do it. It hasn't made the cut the past couple of years, and I'm not saying it would or would not make the cut again. But since we're really right on the verge of starting that process, I'd be in favor of waiting for that process to occur. And then I do have, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to.
Was that a question, sir?
Defer this to the budget cycle.
Hang on, let me finish this motion first.
So I'll make a motion to defer this to the budget cycle process.
Second. Okay, motion to defer by Mr. Becker, seconded by Commissioner Mansfield. Defer, no debate, right? No. Defer can be debated. Does anyone want to debate defer?
Yes, sir. The only thing I would ask is that.
Mr. Taylor. And then I'll come to you, Mr. Hinton.
The only thing I would ask is that we don't defer it, and the reason being, is we've made a commitment on the budget committee last year that we would fund this position. It's going to be funded. And then on top of that, we've spent a little bit over $50,000 already that's going to be, or we will be, towards the payroll study, which this is where most of the majority of the elected and direct department heads have opted in. We're going to try and add some consistency and structure to our pay schedule for our employees. It's going to do a long-term study that looks at whether we're making the right classifications for people, if we've set them up on the proper career path. It's going to be a comprehensive study that we've never been able to do before. We want the HR director to be here so that way they can be the one that guides it and makes sure that we're doing exactly what we need. We'd like to think we know what we're doing, but we're not HR directors. That's why we'd like to bring someone in that knows. So that's the reason for the exigency. Since that study's getting ready to go, it'd be great to have somebody here a month or so ahead of time to really navigate it and make sure we do it right so we don't have to go back and spend more money where we got it wrong.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Hinton.
I'm amazed that this county, as big as it is with as many employees, has got by without having a human resource director as long as it has. We've stayed on thin ice. I mean, you got a buffer between bad problems with this person, and now all you got, if somebody feels like they've been mistreated or managed wrong or whatever, their only option is to go to an attorney. This stops. No, this don't stop that. But every sensible company, everybody else that has as many employees as we have in Sumner County and not having a human resource director is foolish. So I would encourage everybody, let's do this and get it done while we're still lucky enough to not get in a mess.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hinton. Commissioner Mo Taylor, are you still in the, are you out of the queue? Okay. All right, so we're, a yes vote is to refer? Defer. Yes vote is to defer, require a majority vote. No vote is to continue on the main motion, so let's vote.
Motion to defer is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 5 affirmative votes, motion to defer fails to carry.
Mr. Becker.
So then my next question is, do we have an estimate of how many employees this HR department will have? I know this is for the HR director, but is there any, and I know that director needs to come in and give some input, but is there any estimate of if this is a department of one or a department of several?
It'll start with just 2. It's going to be the HR director, and the risk management.
Okay, so it'll be the department of 2, the HR director and a risk management person? Existing? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
I remembered what I wanted earlier now. So what does that put us on the hook for being committed to as a department? Because I've seen new departments that we've created since I've been here grow into an astronomical expense each year.
So I think, to start, it's 2 employees is what I heard.
Yes, sir. The one employee is already here doing risk management, and then the second one, we're looking at it right, I think about 109 a year for an HR director is what the numbers come up with, I believe. Is that right, David? There we go. Sorry, I was a little bit off there.
110,000 for the HR director.
So that's just the payroll. There'll be office furniture, there'll be this, there'll be some, I dare and guarantee there'll be data processing fees in there somewhere.
My understanding is risk management's already there, Mr. Taylor, so we're repurposing a space. But that's beyond the scope of this vote. Like, this is for the rest of this year.
Which is a commitment when you vote for this.
Right.
You're committed yourself to everything that comes
Right, but we're
after
voting
that.
on the salary, not on the office furniture.
Yeah, that wasn't the only thing I said, what's it gonna cost?
Sure.
And I still didn't get the answer.
Yeah, you did, up to 110,000.
For the department.
Right now, the one employee risk management's already there. The salary's 110,000. I would presume that they're going to use the risk management office space and everything for this office.
Mr. Chairman, I know I ain't in the queue, but
Hang on, let's get you in the queue, Mr. Grace. Just one second. There you go. There you go.
Oh, excuse me. I think the commissioner wanted to know what the total cost was going to be, counting salaries, benefits, and guesstimate at whatever else might be left.
Right, and I feel like I told him the salary from the law director. I repeated what the law director told me. The existing office space and risk management's already in our budget. So, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Lawing can get you the cost of the benefits, but it's generally about 20-25% of whatever the cost is.
Part of the cost will be covered by the downsizing of risk management.
The downsizing of risk management makes this, gives you the office space and everything that you need to match. We're laying off 2 people.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to remind the commission that we had a resource officer, if you want to call it that, position, and we done away with it a few years ago.
Yeah, I believe, Mr. Graves, that was in 2008 when we laid off about 16 people, so, yeah. Okay, I see no one else in the queue. Let's vote.
Resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $22 votes, all 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote?
Michelle.
With 19 affirmative votes, it is approved on first and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ask a point of clarification while it was fresh on our minds. It has been a few minutes since it happened, but regarding the proposed rule change, earlier, Commissioner Taylor had the floor and was speaking, and we yielded the floor to Josh. And so you had said earlier, if a question was asked, it typically uses the commissioner's time. So obviously, in this particular incident, Mr. Josh spoke quite a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4. I didn't time it, but basically would have probably taken up the entire 5 minutes of Mr. Taylor's 5-minute time. So if that were to happen and we had adopted our new rule change, would that be at the discretion of the chair to allow his 5 minutes to start over? Would we as a commission need to vote to amend the rules? I just wanted to be clear when we take this back to legislative to debate it again. I thought this would maybe give a good example.
My understanding would be, here would be my interpretation, is that Mr. Taylor had the floor. We went to Josh for questions. In order to do that, to have anybody that's not a commissioner speak, we have to suspend the rules. So when we suspend the rules, Commissioner Taylor's time would stop, or we'd give him another 5, however we wanted to handle that, because I think he was like 10 seconds into talking. So, I mean, that would just, to me, in my mind, we'd just go back to 5 minutes and reset the clock. We would not take his time. So I don't think that would require any kind of specific language, because to bring a speaker up like that, we suspend the rules.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes. Mr. Graves. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. No, we got one more. Thank you, Mr. Graves.
Mr. Chairman, I just got a quick question. I don't necessarily have a problem with the iPads that we got. I didn't take one because I got enough stuff to keep up with at home. I got iPads and whatever, phones. But anyway, who approved not getting the agendas on paper? Was it voted on?
Everybody who requested one.
We put an agenda on the table of everyone who requested one. If you would like an agenda.
No, that's not my question. Did the commission approve doing this?
No, Mr. Kemp and I talked. It's a chick call of the chair.
Did the commission approve doing this?
No.
Okay.
But I would say this.
I just want to make a point of it. I don't have a problem, but here I am tonight. I got 3 pieces of paper. I didn't know what was coming down.
Sure. Well, I apologize for that, Mr. Graves.
Well,
what I would say is if you
apologies. Shouldn't we vote on that?
There's a resolution that's been proposed.
There's a resolution that's going to be proposed next month, Mr. Graves.
All right, anybody who requested a paper agenda had one on their desk. So if there's anybody else that wants a paper agenda, please raise your hand now. Leave them up so we can make sure and get them.
I might next month, but the next month I might not.
Oh, well, if you will inform us, we will be glad to get a paper agenda on your desk. Everybody who requested one had one.
I'm all about saving money, but anyway.
Okay, but if you want one, let the clerk's office know and you'll have one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. Yes, sir.
I don't want to stop proceeding.
What's that?
I don't want to stop proceeding.
Okay. Well, we're gonna, hang on. We're working on a resolution right now that will address it. And I think where we'll probably end up is if you would like the full package, you can have the full packet printed. But if those that don't want it, don't have to. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.